The night they met, the human cold wind cut through the dark streets of the alien city. Two young alien sisters crouched in the shadows between broken crates. Their bare feet pressed against the frozen ground, their thin clothes torn and dirty. The older sister, Lyra, wrapped her arm around the younger one, Sina, trying to give her warmth. Above them, huge screens on the tall buildings flashed bright lights and loud voices. The government's warning was everywhere. No shelter for the unwanted. Report them at once. Senna's small stomach growled. Lyra rubbed her back. "Stay quiet," she whispered. The sound of metal clinking echoed down the alley. Patrol drones. Their red lights scanned the darkness. Lyra held her breath. If the drones found them, they would be taken away. Nobody ever came back. The red light passed over the crates. The sisters pressed themselves deeper into the shadows. The drone floated closer, its camera turning toward them. Then dash footsteps. Heavy, not the smooth hum of a drone, but boots on whetstone. A tall shadow stepped into the alley. The drone turned toward it, scanning. The figure moved with slow confidence, not afraid. The drone's red light scanned up and down the stranger's body. The figure reached into a pocket. A small device flashed once. The drone's light blinked. Then went dark. It dropped to the ground, lifeless. The sisters stared. The figure stepped closer in the light of the flickering screens above. They saw his face, pale skin, short dark hair, eyes that didn't belong to this planet. "A human. Both of you," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Come with me." Lyra tightened her grip on Senna. "Who are you?" "Someone who can keep you safe," the human said. "But you have to move. Now." Sina looked at her sister with wide eyes. "Lyra, I'm cold." Lyra didn't trust him. She didn't trust anyone. But soldiers would come soon to check the dead drone. Staying here meant capture. The human took a step back, holding out his hand, not touching them, not forcing, just waiting. "I'm not here to hurt you." Shouts echoed from the street beyond the alley. Lights grew brighter. Lyra made her choice. She pulled Senna up. "We're coming." They followed the human through winding alleys, past rusted gates and closed market stalls. He moved quickly, but always made sure they could keep up. Finally, they stopped before a small, hidden door in a wall covered with metal vines. The human tapped a code into a black panel. The door slid open. Warm air rushed out. Inside, the walls were lined with strange objects, human clothes, books, glowing screens, and machines they didn't understand. A small fire burned in a corner. The smell of food filled the air. The human shut the door behind them. A soft click sounded as it locked. Lyra froze. "Why did you lock it?" "So no one follows you in," he said. "You're safe here." He walked to a table and placed a bowl of hot soup on it. "Eat. You both look like you haven't had a meal in days." Sina didn't wait. She ran to the table and began eating. Lyra stayed back, her eyes watching every move he made. The human noticed. "You can sit," he said. "I'm not your enemy." "What do you want from us?" Lyra asked. He sighed. "Nothing. I saw two kids about to be taken away. I couldn't just walk past." Lyra didn't answer. She looked at Sina, who was already halfway through the soup. The human leaned against the wall. "Name's Kale." "I'm not from here." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "We can tell." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, and I know what it's like to have nowhere to go." Senna wiped her mouth. "Can we stay here?" Kale looked at her, then at Lyra. "For tonight, yes. But you should know this planet's not safe for me either. If they find you, they find me." Lyra stepped closer to her sister, unsure if she could trust him. But for the first time in months, she felt warm. Kale pointed to a door on the left. "There's a bed in there. You can sleep." Sina stood, but Lyra stayed where she was. "What's behind that other door?" she asked, pointing. To the far end of the room, Kale's eyes shifted to it. "Don't go in there." Sina's curiosity lit up. "Why?" Kale's voice was calm but firm. "Because it's dangerous." "And because I said so." Lyra didn't like the answer, but she didn't push. She led Senna to the bed. Later, as the fire burned low, Lyra couldn't sleep. She heard something. Faint noise, like metal scraping from behind the locked door. She sat up, listening. The noise stopped. Then soft footsteps behind her. The house, with locked doors, Lyra, froze. The footsteps behind her were slow. Careful, she turned her head. Kale stood in the shadows, holding a mug of steaming liquid. His face was unreadable. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked quietly. Lyra stayed on the bed, watching him. "What's behind that door?" Kale sipped his drink. "Something I can't let you see." "Why?" "Because some things are safer not to know." Sina shifted in her sleep, pulling the blanket closer. Kale glanced at her and lowered his voice even more. "You've had a long night. Rest." But Lyra didn't move. "I heard a noise," she whispered. Kale's eyes stayed calm, but his grip on the mug tightened. "It's nothing that will harm you. I promise." He walked back to his corner, sat down, and stared at the flames. Lyra lay back, but her mind stayed on the locked door. Morning came with the smell of warm bread. Senna was already at the table, eating happily. Lyra sat down slowly, still watching Kale. He smiled slightly. "You'll burn holes in my head if you keep staring." She didn't smile back. "I don't trust people who lock doors." "Good," Kale said. "Don't trust easily. It'll keep you alive." They ate in silence for a while. Then Kale stood. "I need to get supplies. You two stay inside." "What if soldiers come?" Lyra asked. "They won't," Kale replied. "This place is off the patrol map." Before leaving, he locked the main door from the outside. The sound of the lock echoed through the small room. The moment he was gone, Sina whispered, "Let's see what's inside." "No," Lyra said quickly. "He saved us. We can't mess with him." "But what if he's hiding food? Or something dangerous?" Lyra shook her head. "We wait. But curiosity doesn't fade, it grows." Hours passed. The locked door seemed to watch them. At one point, they both heard a faint thump from behind it. Sina's eyes went wide. Lyra stood, heart pounding. She walked to the door and touched the cold metal. She could hear something moving slow, dragging steps, suddenly dash silence. The sound of the main door unlocking made them jump. Kale stepped inside, carrying a bag. Senna ran to him. "What's behind that door?" she blurted. Kale stopped in his tracks. "I told you not to ask that." "Why, are you hiding someone?" Sina pressed. Kale set the bag down with more force than needed. "I'm hiding a truth you're not ready for. That's all you need to know." Lyra crossed her arms. "We've survived worse things than secrets." Kale looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe. But this isn't about surviving. It's about keeping you from becoming targets." "Targets?" Lyra asked. Kale didn't answer. He moved to the table and started unpacking the bag: bread, water, a folded blanket. The sisters exchanged a glance. Whatever was behind that door, it was important and dangerous. That night, the noise came again, louder this time. A metallic scrape, and something like a low growl. Lyra sat up in bed, her skin cold. Sina whispered, "Do you hear?" It too. The sound stopped. Then 3 slow knocks from the other side of the locked door. The truth about the human: the knocks were slow. Heavy. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. Sina clung to her arm. They didn't move, didn't speak. From across the room, Kale's voice broke the silence. "Back away from that door. Tay both." Turned, he was standing there in the dark, eyes glinting in the firelight. They hadn't heard him get up. "What's inside?" Lyra demanded. Cale walked toward them, each step slow but firm. Something that would draw every soldier in this sector to my doorstep if you saw it. That's all you need to know. Senna swallowed. "Is it a person?" Cale stopped right in front of the door. His hand rested on the lock. It was. The sisters exchanged a look. Cale sighed and stepped back. "You think you're the only ones being hunted?" "You're not. I'm not here on some rescue mission. I'm hiding just like you." Lyra frowned. "Then why help us?" "Because when I saw you in that alley, I remembered my crew." His voice dropped. "They didn't make it." Cale sat down by the fire. "I was a transport pilot, not from this planet. My ship crashed near the border. Soldiers found us before I could get the engine working again. I wasn't fast enough." "What's behind the door?" Lyra pressed. Cale's jaw tightened. "Part of my ship, and something they can never get their hands on." A faint metallic scrape came from the other side again. Cale's eyes flicked toward it, but he stayed seated. "It's not safe to know," he said quietly. "If you tell anyone, even by accident, they'll hunt you until you disappear." Senna hugged herself. "We can keep a secret." "That's what my crew said," Cale replied, his tone flat. The fire popped, throwing shadows across the walls. For a long time, no one spoke. The next morning, Cale gave them warm clothes too big for their small frames, but clean. "You can stay," he told them. "But there are rules." "Rules?" Lyra asked. "One, never open that door. Two, if I say run, you run. No questions. And three, no going outside alone." Sina nodded quickly. Keela didn't. "What happens if we break the rules?" Cale met her gaze. "You won't like the answer." Kayla and Cale went to check the perimeter. Lyra moved close to the door again. She pressed her ear against it. No noise this time, but she felt something of faint warmth, like the heat from a machine still running. And underneath it, a pulse. She stepped back fast. That night, a storm raged outside. Rain pounded the roof. The sisters lay in bed, listening. To the wind then, over the storm, came a sound from the locked room, a voice. Low, mechanical, speaking words they didn't understand. Lyra sat up in shock. Sina whispered, "It's talking." They weren't alone in the house. "The hunt begins," the voice behind the locked door spoke again. Low, rhythmic. The strange words sounded almost like a countdown. Lyra's heart raced. "It's saying numbers," she whispered. Before Senna could answer, a sharp beep came from the wall. A small screen lit up with a red warning. Motion detected east side. Cale burst into the room, rain dripping from his jacket. "Get away from that door." "What's happening?" Lyra asked. "Soldiers," Cale said, grabbing a weapon from under the table. "They found us." Outside, shadows moved between the rain. Black armored soldiers swept the area with bright beams of light. Cale checked the locks on the front door. "They're scanning every building. They knock, don't make a sound." The sisters huddled together. The warning screen beeped again. Motion detected front door. Then 3 loud knocks. Cale stood still, breathing slow. "Stay behind." "The fire," he whispered. He opened the door just a crack. A soldier in black armor stood there, visor glowing. "We're looking for 2 alien fugitives. Small, female. Have you seen them?" Cale leaned against the doorframe, acting casual. "I mind my own business." The soldier's visor scanned him from head to toe. "Our drones picked up movement." "Here last night. Probably rats," Cale said flatly. The soldier's gaze drifted past him toward the locked door. "What's in that room?" Cale's voice stayed calm. "Storage. Open it." Lyra's pulse hammered in her ears. Kale's hand tightened on the doorframe. "No," he said simply. The soldier took a step forward. "By law, I can search any room I choose." Kale stepped forward too, blocking the way. "Not this one." For a long moment, neither moved. Rain drummed against the roof. Finally, the soldier turned away. "We'll be back," he said, his voice cold. The door closed. The lock clicked. Kale turned to the sisters. "We don't have time. They'll return with more men." Sina's voice trembled. "What about the thing in the locked room?" Kale grabbed a bag and began stuffing it with supplies. "It's coming with us." Lyra frowned. "Then you can open the door." Kale looked at her, his eyes sharp. "Yes, but once I do, there's no going back." He pressed his hand to the panel. The lock hissed open. The door swung slowly inward. The sisters leaned to see and froze inside. The air shimmered with blue light. At the center stood a tall, sleek capsule, glass cracked, wires hanging. Something inside moved. It wasn't human, and it was looking right at them. The escape plant, the thing inside the capsule, blinked. Its eyes glowed faint gold in the blue light. Senna stepped back. "What is that?" Kale didn't answer. He grabbed the capsule's handles and pulled it from its stand. The machine hissed, releasing cold mist. The creature inside tilted its head, still watching them. Lyra's voice was sharp. "You're taking that with us." Kale's jaw was tight. "It's the only thing more valuable than our lives." "And the soldiers want it dead." A loud crack of static shook the air. The front warning screen flashed. "Multiple targets detected, approaching fast." "They're surrounding the house," Kale said. "We move now." He shoved a bag into Lyra's hands. "Food, water, thermal blankets. Don't drop it." Rain poured outside. The sound of boots splashing in the mud came closer. Kale kicked open a small back hatch. Cold night air rushed in. "Stay low. Don't speak." They slipped out into the darkness, the capsule hovering a few inches above the ground as Kale guided it. Floodlights from the soldier's gear swept across the alley. Lyra pulled Senna behind a crate. Kale pressed against the wall, watching the beams pass. Then a sharp whistle cut through the rain. The soldiers had spotted tracks. They ran, the narrow streets twisted and turned, water splashing under their feet. The capsule hummed quietly, following Kale's control. From behind came shouts, the thud of boots, the whir of drones. A beam of light swept across them. Lyra yanked Senna into a side passage just as a soldier's voice barked. There, shots cracked through the air, splintering the walls. They reached the edge of the city. Beyond lay the mountains, dark shapes rising against the storm. "This way," Kale said, leading them into the rocky path. But the ground was slick, and the capsule's hover was slowing. Sparks spat from its base. "It's damaged," Kale muttered. "We have to fix it before we climb." Lyra glanced back. Distant lights were moving up the road, closer every second. "We don't have time," she said. Kale's eyes flicked to the creature inside. "If we leave it, they win. And if they win, none of us survive." A deafening boom shook the mountainside. A soldier's flare lit up the dark, turning shadows into bright orange. The creature inside the capsule placed one hand on the glass. Its lips moved slowly, speaking words in the same strange language they had heard before. The air around the capsule began to hum. Deeper, this time almost alive. Kale stared at it, then at the girls. "It's waking up." The price of freedom. The hum from the capsule grew louder, vibrating in the cold air. Raindrops rippled against its glass. Sina's voice shook. "Lyra, it's glowing." Inside, the creature's golden eyes flared brighter. It pressed its palm harder to the glass, and thin cracks spread across it like ice breaking. Kale's grip on the controls tightened. "No, not yet." but the glass shattered with a sharp hiss, releasing a rush of hot air that cut through the freezing rain. The creature stepped out. Its skin shimmered faint silver under the storm's light, and faint moving patterns flowed across it like liquid metal. "Stay behind me," Kale ordered, pulling the girls close. From below, soldiers' shouts echoed up the mountain trail. The beam of a drone's light cut across the rocks, locking onto them. The creature turned toward the sound. Its head tilted slightly, then it raised one hand. A pulse of light burst from its palm, hitting the drone in the sky. The machine exploded. In a silent flash, falling in burning pieces, Senna gasped. Lyra's eyes went wide. It can fight. Kale was already moving. That's why they want it dead. And why we need it alive. The path ahead narrowed into a jagged ridge. On one side, a drop into darkness. On the other, a wall of wet rock. The soldiers were closing in fast boots, slamming against stone. The clink of weapons ready. Kale turned to the girls. "You go ahead with it. I'll hold them off." "No," Senna cried. "Run," Kale said, his voice hard now. "You have a better chance without me slowing you down." The creature stepped forward, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. Its strange golden eyes met his. Kale stared at it for a second, then nodded, as if they understood each other without words. The creature walked ahead of the girls, leading them up the ridge. From behind came the roar of gunfire. Kale was fighting. Halfway up, Lyra looked back and saw him fall to one knee. A soldier swung his weapon up to fire. Without thinking, she turned and ran back toward Kale. "Lyra, no," Senna shouted. She reached him just as the soldier fired. The shot hit the rock beside her, spraying shards into the air. Kale shoved her behind him, firing back. "I told you to run." "I'm not leaving you," Lyra shouted over the storm. The creature moved between them and the soldiers. Raising both hands this time, a deep, resonating hum filled the air. A shockwave of golden light surged forward, knocking every soldier back down the path. Weapons clattered to the ground, silence followed. Only the rain remained. The creature turned to them. Its voice was soft, but each word clear, in perfect translation. "We go now, before more come." Home at last, the mountains fell behind them, hidden by storm and darkness. The path ahead opened into a valley, green and alive, glowing faintly under the twin moons. Lyra stopped, staring. This doesn't look like the rest of the planet." Senna's voice was barely a whisper. "It feels safe." The creature walked ahead, silent and graceful. Golden light from its skin warmed the cold night air. It led them toward a hidden gate built into the valley wall. Kale, limping but steady, caught up to them. "Rebel territory," he said. "The government can't touch this place." The gate opened with a slow groan, revealing a camp of alien refugees, different shapes, colors, and species, all gathered around fires. Every head turned toward the newcomers. The creature stepped forward, speaking in its strange language. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. An older alien, tall with deep blue skin, approached. He placed his hand on Kale's shoulder, then knelt before the creature. "They know it," Kale explained quietly to the sisters. "They've been waiting for it." The rebels welcomed them inside, offering food and blankets. Senna curled up by the fire, her small body finally relaxing. But Lyra's eyes stayed on Kale. "You didn't tell us the truth." Kale gave a tired smile. "I told you enough to keep you alive. The rest, well, the rest is for another time." "What is it?" she asked, glancing at the creature. Kale looked over at it, watching as it healed a wounded rebel with a touch of golden light. "The last of its kind," he said softly. "And the key to ending this war." Days passed in the valley. For the first time in years, the sisters slept without fear. The rebels treated them like family. One morning, Kale found them sitting by the stream. "I'm leaving soon," he said. Sina's eyes went wide. "You can't. We just got here." Kale knelt, resting a hand on her shoulder. "This place will protect you, but I have to go back. There are others still out there, kids like you who need help." Lyra swallowed hard. "Then we're coming." "With you." Kale smiled faintly. "Not yet. You still need time to be safe, to be kids." That night, as the camp prepared for rest, the creature approached the sisters. It knelt so its golden eyes met theirs. "You saved me," it said in the same perfect voice as before. "So I give you this." It placed a small, glowing crystal in Lyra's hand. "If you are in danger, it will bring me to you." Senna clutched Lyra's arm. "Will we see you again?" The creature's gaze was warm. "Yes, because your story is not finished." At dawn, Kale stood at the valley's edge. The sisters ran to him. "Promise you'll come back," Lyra said. Kale nodded. "Promise." He glanced back at the camp. Then at the girls. "This time, you're not alone. You both have a home." He turned and walked into the rising sun, the creature beside him. Their shadows stretching long across the grass. The war still raged beyond the valley, but for the first time, the sisters felt something stronger than fear. Hope.